You are not living a real life. What you're doing is maintaining. You're eating, you're sleeping, you're working, you're consuming, and you're recovering enough to do so again tomorrow. You're keeping your body functional while keeping the bills paid and the routine intact. And somewhere in the middle of all that maintenance, you've confused the act of surviving with the act of living. They are not the same thing. I'm here to tell you that. They were never ever the same thing. And the distance between them is the entire argument that Hannah Arendt, one of the best philosophers to ever touch a piece of paper, was spent her entire life making. In her book, The Human Condition, which was published in 1958 and it still applies to nowadays, Hannah Arendt divided all human activity into three different categories. There is labor, there is work, and there is action. Labor is biological. It's the endless cycle of need and satisfaction that keeps the body alive, which is things like eating or sleeping or working enough to eat and sleep again. And it produces nothing that actually lasts, because the moment it stops, the cycle begins again and it just keeps going. It's very cyclical. Labor is the activity of the animal. It is necessary and it's relentless and it's entirely consumed by its own repetition. Work is the production of the things that outlast us as people. It is a table, it is a book, it is a building, it is a piece of music. Work creates a world of objects that leave behind a mark and they persist the life of a person who made them. It genuinely adds something to the world that was not there before. Now, action is the rarest and most distinctly human of the three of them. It is the act of appearing in public or among other people or as a specific person with a specific voice doing something that begins something new. Action is irreversible. That is undeniable. It changes the world in ways that cannot fully be predicted or even controlled. It is the only activity, which Arendt argued, that is genuinely free. Her argument wasn't that labor is shameful or that work is sufficient. It was that a life lived entirely at the level of labor, which is consuming, maintaining, and surviving and repeating, is a life that has not yet begun in the fullest of the human sense. And that modern life, with its emphasis on productivity or consumption or even like the endless management of biological needs, has quietly collapsed everything into labor. We have become, in Arendt's words, a society of laborers without the world that the work produces and without the freedom that the action itself requires. Arendt didn't theorize this from comfort, however. Now I'm going to start going over her life because she is genuinely one of the most credible people to write about this. She was Jewish and she was born in Germany in 1906. When the Nazis rose to power, she was arrested by the Gestapo, then she was released and then she fled. She spent 18 years stateless, as in meaning without a country to live by. She spent 18 years without any sort of legal identity or without even the most basic form of public existence that most people take for such granted nowadays. She knew exactly what it meant to be excluded from the world as a person, to be reduced to purely biological survival with no place to appear and no voice that carried any sort of legal weight or no capacity for any sort of action in any meaningful sense. And that experience produced the philosophy. The human condition was not an academic exercise. It was the conclusion of a woman who had lived at the level of pure labor and stripped of work and stripped of action and stripped of absolutely everything except the maintenance of survival, and had then thought with absolute precision of what that had cost from her. She rebuilt and then she wrote and then she appeared and then she acted. Most controversially in her coverage of the Eichmann trial, in which she introduced the concept of the banality of evil and faced enormous public backlash for it. She did not retreat, however. What she did was publish regardless of the response from the public. That was action in the exact sense that she had theorized. It was appearing in public and saying something so difficult, beginning something that could not be taken back ever. It was irreversible. The question her work leaves sitting in you is not philosophical in the abstract sense, but instead it is immediate and so personal. Look at your days. Look at the days you are living in. Not the days that you imagine or not the days that you plan for. The actual days that you move in day to day. Where does your time go? Can you genuinely answer that question? What do you produce that will outlast the week or even this very moment? Where do you appear in not performing, not consuming, or not maintaining, but genuinely appear as a specific person doing something that actually has meaning or begins something new in the world? If the honest answer, which again a lot of people won't be able to even formulate any sort of answer, let alone an honest answer, if that honest answer, however, is nowhere, and if your days are just labor dressed up as living, or the cycle of need and satisfaction are repeating without any sort of remainder, then Arendt's argument is not about history or even political philosophy. It is directly about you as a person and the life that you have yet to start living in.